And good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those of you joining us on the West Coast today. Simpson Consulting would like to welcome you to today's online presentation, Straight Talk on Exchanges, the questions employees ask, the answers you should give. Now I would like to turn the call over to Andrew Kaplan, our Vice President and Senior Communications Consultant within our National Communications Practice.
Thanks very much, Liza. Good afternoon or good morning, depending upon your time zone, and welcome to our webinar. As Liza mentioned, Straight Talk on Exchanges, the questions employees ask and the answers you should give. So today our panel will address some of the questions about the Affordable Care Act and its provisions about exchanges. Now, of course, they're known more commonly as marketplaces. We'll also talk about the individual employer mandates and much more. And the questions we've chosen are among those that we're hearing from clients and their employees, but certainly they're not the only questions out there. And that's why we'll devote just the first part of this webinar to the questions in our presentation. But we really would like to spend the bulk of the webinar and our time with you answering your questions, and we'll, of course, provide those answers. So we look forward to hearing from you. So please feel free to get those into us at any point during our webinar. And please note that the questions we'll ask are actually as if they're coming to you from your employees. So we'll present the answers in a similar way as if you're presenting them to your employees. So when we say you, we're talking about employees unless we indicate otherwise. So I'd like to introduce our panel. And with us today is Chris Calvert, Senior Vice President in Simpson's New York office. Chris has over 20 years of experience working in the healthcare industry and is Simpson's health practice leader. We also have Joanne Husted, who is the Deputy Practice Leader of our National Health Compliance Practice in Washington, D.C. And Joanne has more than 30 years of legal experience, including more than 20 in the health policy arena. And she really is a true subject matter expert on all things ACA. Ed Kaplan is also with us, and Ed is a Senior Vice President and Siegel's National Health Practice Leader, and Ed is also in our New York office. And I'm Andrew Kaplan, as Liza mentioned, Vice President and Senior Communication Consultant in Simpson's National Communications Practice, and I provide strategic communications counsel to clients about employee benefits communications and have been doing so for more than 20 years. And I'm joining you today from our New York office. And just so you know, in case you're wondering, this is not a case of nepotism whatsoever. Ed and I are not related, but we do have the same last name. So let's get started. We thought it might be interesting to share some findings from the International Foundation of Employee Benefits Plans survey on the impact of the ACA on employer-sponsored health plans. So, and the numbers really speak volumes. So I'm not going to read the entire slide to you, but just pick a few of these. I think it's first off interesting to take a look at the 73% of organizations say that ACA communications to employees only occur during open enrollment. And as you'll see, we are fairly certain that employees are already wondering how the ACA is going to affect them and the healthcare choices they'll be making for this coming fall. 94% of organizations say they'll definitely or very likely continue providing coverage when exchanges open, primarily to retain and attract talented employees, and that probably is not much of a surprise. About only a quarter of organizations remain grandfathered, and of those, less than half expect to keep their grandfathered status beyond the next 2 years. So certainly a trend that we're seeing. Let's move on now to our first question. And our first question is, I heard that the employer shared responsibility payments of ACA will be delayed to 2015. What does that mean? And we'll turn that over to Joanne. Joanne?
Thanks, Andrew. The employer shared responsibility payment is the official name for this particular provision in the ACA. It's also called the employer mandate or the employer penalty. The delay means that there will be no penalties in 2014 on employers that don't meet the requirements of the employer penalty. This penalty applies just to large employers, that is, those with 50 or more full-time employee equivalents. This penalty is triggered if just one of the employer's full-time employees goes into a health insurance marketplace and qualifies for a premium assistance tax credit. This tax credit is also referred to as a subsidy. It's a premium subsidy to buy the coverage.